Hello, all. We're back with another cup of tea. It's the 5th of January, which only means one thing: it's transfer window time. Gonzo, did you know, Gonzo? It's only 5 months until Father's Day.
No, I didn't know that.
Well, it's 5 months till Father's Day, so you should get yourself to our sponsors, Royal London Watches, and get a nice West Ham watch for your dad and everyone else out there. You know where to go for your Father's Day gift. It's 5 months. We've given you plenty warning. You won't forget. Now, are you ready to talk transfers and try and snuff out some of the BS?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got my cup of tea. I've raided the last remnants of the Christmas chocolates. It's mostly coconut and dark chocolate ones at the bottom of the box, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm ready.
What striker do you want? Well, we'll talk about Defoe first. We'll go for the one on everyone's lips, the one that seems to be like a tug of war between a lot of fans, doesn't it? A lot of fans want him, a lot of fans don't want him.
Yeah, I don't care, in all honesty, about that old stuff. It doesn't bother me in the least. And I know I sort of half jokingly said about Frank Lampard recently, but but actually this doesn't bother me. I know he left in acrimonious circumstances. He shouldn't have let the put a transfer request in the moment we got relegated. That was a stupid thing to do. But putting all that to one side, we desperately need a striker. I think a good striker and a top quality striker, a striker that plays in the Premier League and scores regularly in the Premier League, they're hard to come by. Jermaine Defoe is a brilliant striker. You've only got to look at his record. I think it'd be so good. I think if he were 23 now, 24, I think it'd cost 40, 50 million. Quite comfortably. Anyone that could guarantee you goals in the Premier League probably would be. He's so good. I'm surprised he's never played for a big club, to be honest with you. So, I think we should do everything we can to get him.
I think the reason people don't want him, I think there is a group that don't want him because of what he did, but I think most people can see past that. I think it's now getting to the point that we bid 5 million, then we bid 6 million. According to the official site, we bid 6 million. And strange that saying that our official site has confirmed a 6 million bid, but away from that, it's getting to the point now. I think a lot of fans are thinking, right, it's now getting to the crunch point where you go a couple of million more. It's a bit too expensive for a 34-year-old striker. What's your price range on Defoe? I mean, we've got 6 million rejected. Some are saying some only want 15. 10's kind of the middle ground. What's your price?
I'd pay 10 million for him. I'd pay upwards, anything up to 10 million. We wasted 8 odd million in loan fees this season. That's money that's just gone. And really, if you look at Zaza and Toure, actually it's money that's just gone in less than a season, half a season maybe, you could even argue, in a handful of games. If we get... What are you eating?
A crumpet. I've got a crumpet.
You got a crumpet. What have you got on your crumpet?
Just butter, just a little bit of butter over the top of it so it melts into it. So I'm trying to eat a crumpet while you're talking about Defoe, but
I'll talk. Very nice. I hope it's real butter, by the way. I think bearing in mind that let's say it's 10 million, 8, 9, 10 million. I think if you could get 2 seasons out of him, and I think you probably would. I think he's that fit. We've also had all the talk about Ibrahimovic being too old, who's older than Defoe, isn't he? So I don't think we get a striker of that calibre if he's in his mid-20s. I think at the moment where West Ham are, we either get him very young, like somebody else will discuss later, or we get towards the end. If we don't, then actually we end up with a mediocre striker, and we've been linked with enough of those. We don't need those. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
15 million, would you take that? I mean, that's what Sunderland apparently want.
Well, it's just brinksmanship. They're not going to get 15 million. They're asking, you know what it's like. They're asking 15 million so as they could get 10. At the end of the day, I know we pay for our season tickets. We buy a beer at half time, and we get some merchandise from the club shop. This was on discount, by the way, at the weekend. So we do all pay our money, but really it's not my money. I don't care if it's 10 or 15 million or whatever, as long as it doesn't outwardly impact the budget for another player. then it doesn't really bother me. That's the only way that it impacts me. If it was, buying Defoe for 15 million meant next year's season ticket was £100 dearer, you might start thinking, oh, I don't know if that should be the case. But they get so much money from Sky now, these football clubs, they can afford it.
My worry is it will impact the other budget. That's the problem. If you spend 15 on Defoe, there's no way it's not affecting the budget for the right back. Or come the summer, they aren't gonna remind us we spent 15 million on a striker. And that's my worry. I think 15 is too much. I think 10 million is my absolute ceiling price on Defoe. Anything over that, I start to be a little bit worried. I mean, I can see both sides of the coin. I'm kind of on the fence with Defoe. I really wanted him, but then I thought Sunderland were gone, but they started getting results together, and now they're in with a chance, and their chance relies on Defoe. So I just can't see why Sunderland would sell him, even for 15 million. He's potentially worth 80 million to Sunderland. I think that's the cost of relegation. He's potentially worth 80 million. Because if Sunderland go down, it's going to cost them about that amount of money. But that's his value to Sunderland. Will they accept 15? Probably, because at the end of the day, he's 34 years old. At Sunderland, they're skint. But it's a bit, his legs can go at any time as well. I know he looks after himself, and he's one of those last of the true professionals, if you like. But you only have to look at other people that were world class, like Rio Ferdinand, for example. He went like that. Over one summer, he was gone. He was from the top of the game to playing rubbish for QPR. He went like that. His legs went. All I have to do is look at James Collins. Last year, he was one of our best centre backs, just as good as Ogbonna and Reid. This year, he looks like Bambi on ice. Some of the fans are saying, "Come on, just get rid of this old geezer." At that age, you can get. But I can see the fact that he will come in and score goals. And this season, I think every league position is worth about 2 million. So if he scores enough goals to get you up 5 positions in the league, which he probably will, he pays his own fee essentially. If he gets you from 15th to 10th or 14th to 9th, he pays his own fee. When you look at it like that, but I just think 15 million is a bit too steep for me. 10 million, yes. 15, no, not for me. It's too much for me. But you're 15, yes, for Defoe, are you? As long as it doesn't impact the rest.
Yeah, I as I say, I don't really care. I don't want to get too caught up in fees, which sounds silly because I say we just don't pay them. When you look at what the top players in the world are going for now, actually, 10, 15 million. I'm sorry to say it, whilst it's a lot of money to you and me, to a football club in a transfer fee, it's not an awful lot of money. And particularly when you think of up until last year, the top 20 richest clubs in Europe were quite widely spread. Now, because of the new TV deal, most of the top 20 clubs in Europe are from the Premier League. So I think we can afford it. I think he's proven quality. And I think people... Not forget, he is absolute quality. I mean, he came along just as Ian Wright was finishing, and he reminds me a lot of Ian Wright, and there are just not too many natural finishers around. That's what Defoe does. He finishes, but unlike some, so we got linked with, someone made some suggestions about Chicharito, Javier Hernandez, and he's another natural goal scorer. But Hernandez is a fox in the box. He's an absolute poacher. Defoe will score you goals from the 18-yard line and in and around the D as well. So he's got a longer range finish on him than a lot of the other in the box poachers. We were linked with Carlos Bacca, of course, before, and the irony is not lost on me that I thought at the time Carlos Bacca at 29 was too old, but I wasn't sure he'd settle, and I had not been scarred by the Simone Zaza affair at that point. And we're in dire needs, particularly with Sacco. Sacco's having a back operation now, so we're reliant on Andy Carroll. And as you see, when the game doesn't suit, we need another option aside from Andy Carroll.
Yeah, because I don't think anyone's doubting his quality. I mean, even the people that don't want him here because of what he did, they're not saying he's a poor striker. They're just saying, I can't really forgive him. I don't really want him back. I do think it's quite funny that our fans complained about Defoe handing a transfer request because we got relegated, are now hoping he hands in a transfer request to leave a club that might get relegated. There's a joke in there somewhere that we're wanting to do to Sunderland what he did to us to come back. It's
even worse than that. Yeah, it's even worse than that. And you're right. And unfortunately, such is the way of modern football. We actually need him to kick up a stink. You're right. What you said earlier, Sunderland may well not want to sell because it's worth 80 million, so and blah, blah, blah. Absolutely. So actually, we need him to do all the things that we despise to get this transfer. He needs to kick off. He needs to throw a sulk. If you're listening, Jermaine, he needs to throw a sulk in training. He needs to have a word with his agent. And needs to go in and needs to kick up a stink. All those horrible things that we all hate about modern football. He needs to do that because he needs to engineer the transfer if he wants to come to us. Because they will get to a point where we're saying we're not paying anymore. The club won't pay the 15 million. By the way, you and I can discuss it. I reckon the club will go up to 8, and that'll be it. And it'll be a take it or leave it offer because of his age.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, if we do part of the deal, I would actually like us to see. I would actually like to see us offer Ashley Fletcher on loan to Sunderland as well. Say, we'll take Defoe. You can have Fletcher. Whether you use him or not is up to you. But he's going to be sitting on our bench. You might as well sit at yours. So you've got an option there. Or maybe even Fletcher goes on an 18-month loan, so he gets a year in the Championship next year with Sunderland as well.
So they're definitely in the Championship, are they? Okay. I was going to give you my away ticket for the Sunderland game, actually. So that you were going to take that, weren't you? So that might be interesting for you.
Yeah, I'll go over with him. But let's quickly touch on the Fletcher thing. I mean, there was a load of at the start. If you weren't watching live at the start, I did say we need to. It's January. You can smell a lot of bullshit in there. This must be one of them. There was a 2 Bob article going about saying we're looking to sell Fletcher for 1.5 million. Do you laugh at that or do you believe it?
I guess I just did laugh, didn't I? Do I believe it? I don't know. Apparently
it was still raise funds to buy Defoe.
No,
that hard up. We need to get 1.5 million from somewhere.
No, that's not true. We're not that hard up at all. If we had whatever 19, it depends what you want to believe. 23, 19, 17 million. If we had a balance payment to pay for Zaza at the end of the season and a balance payment to pay for Torre, and we're not, then we certainly do have 1.5 million in there. And to be fair, the amount a lot of us that were drinking at half time at the last game, we'd probably put a little bit in the coffers. So there's plenty of money in there. So I wouldn't believe that. I wouldn't want to see him go to Sunderland to sit on their bench, though. I do think he's got a future, Fletcher, and I'd like to see him go out on loan where he's actually going to play. I think he needs to play every game somewhere.
What I meant though is I think he's just got a better chance at a club like Sunderland playing first team minutes than he does here. I just think their calibre of striker after Defoe ain't as good as we have. But before we move on from Defoe, we put our first bid for Defoe was 5 million. Do you think that's almost taking a piss a little bit, or do you think the owners are doing the right thing going in that low?
No. God, wouldn't you? Businessmen. I've always said they're businessmen. They're entrepreneurs. Why would they go in at 10 million? That's about bad business sense.
The transfer window lasts a month. You don't have enough time to.
Yeah, but it looks like, and we're getting this confirmed by lots of sources as well. All the usual in the know sources plus the club themselves. Looks like we've bid for 3 players since the transfer window's open. So I think that means serious business at the start of the season. I think the club are trying at the moment. So I would have got him with 5 million as well. I'd have tested the water with that. 5 million. Yeah, Jermaine, kick up a stink. Yeah,
but listen, in the summer we bid for Lacazette, Baka, Batshuayi, and ended up with bloody Zaza. So you can make as much scattergun bids as you want, but unless they're real bids that are actually going to get you the player, then there's not much point doing. I could offer you 50p for your jacket that might be on discount in the shop right now, but you're not going to take it, are you? So maybe going, well, I've put in a bid for the jacket, but you didn't want to give it to me.
How much do you want? What's wrong with your jacket?
Well, yours has got I've got a retro crest. You see,
nice.
This is update. I don't have London on this. I don't have London.
well, it's obviously not from London. No, look, I mean, I know what you're saying. I do actually think the bids have been fair, and obviously we talk about them all individually. But I think 5 million for Defoe, 8-9 million for Hogan. Bearing in mind, where he's playing, his trade, and the club he's at, are both fair opening bids. I think the 20 million, if rumoured, is correct for Dembele, which excites me. It's not going to get him. We all know that's not going to get him. But so maybe I think if any of the 3 were low, I think it was probably that one.
I think 5 was almost an insult to Sunderland. They must have thought, hang on, we've got a guy who's got 11 goals this season. It's our only hope of staying up, and you come in with 5 million quid. I know he's got a relegation release clause where he could go for free in the summer, but he's still got 18 months left on his contract. He ain't out of summer. He's not out of contract summer. He's happy in Sunderland. He's the vice captain, I think. It's almost like slapping them in the face, going, here, do you want my... Why
shouldn't we slap Sunderland in the face? Who says you've got to be polite when you make a bid?
Because coming out tonight is that Crystal Palace are wanting him for 10 million. So we've fannied around with a 5 million bid, and Crystal Palace has gone and went 10 million. There you go. Don't know if it's true. This is just media speculation at the moment. But then I'm not into Crystal Palace, so just like they probably don't know how true our bids are, I don't know how true theirs is. But apparently Crystal Palace has gone in with 10 million for Defoe, and it's like, well, we've missed our window. This is exactly like Batshuayi. Remember, we fannied around with Batshuayi. Crystal Palace went in 30 million, boof, on the table. Then we had to go, okay, I suppose we'll go 30 as well. You know, we had that period where we were the only ones speaking Batshuayi, well, that we know of. And we did it around. And Palace come in, hardcore money on the table. There you go. There's your money that you're wanting. And it worries me they're doing the same with Defoe. And it's quite bad because me and you joked earlier on the phone about something. And I said to you, oh, yeah, like if you said, oh, results are a bit crap or whatever. And I jokingly said, yeah, or Crystal Palace signed Defoe. Now, it's almost like I can see it coming. The Allardyce and Defoe thing, Benteke and Defoe, a little large up front. It's almost like the Allardyce dream to. He did it with Allardyce, and I just worry that we're just dithering too much. If you want Defoe, pay the money. Well, I don't want to see us pay 15 million. That's who Bilic wants, and it's quite clear Bilic wants him. He has to pay him, because if we get taken into a relegation battle and we don't get the striker Bilic wants, there's only one guy to blame, and it's not Bilic. You're not, again, learn from the summer. You did not give Bilic the tools required or needed. It's just.
Yeah, listen, I'm willing to give us a chance. I don't think they have bid 50p for a jacket. I think if you want to talk about it in those terms, you know, they've bid 20 quid for a very, very old jacket. But anyway, I don't want to get. With Defoe, sorry, just before you do, just talking about Bilic there as well. I think it's really important if we do get Defoe that he's utilised correctly. If we get Defoe, then I don't want to see him played slightly out wide and cutting in. I want him to be played as a central striker, and on occasion, and on a lot of occasions, I'd like to see him being played up front with Andy Carroll. So for once, Andy Carroll gets to flick it forward, and there'll be someone running onto it. If we get him and we want him, and Bilic wants him, and everybody wants him, then I want him utilised correctly.
Also, what I will say to that, before we move on, I'll just say that if we do get him, the pressure's on Bilic. You've now got the man you want. You now need to start producing performances and results. You don't have the excuse of, I don't have my striker, I don't have, this is Azar guy is useless, Calais is useless. That excuse is gone.
Yeah. If
you get the guy you want, you've no longer got the excuse. You've now got the round peg for the round hole, mate. You need to start producing something. Before we move on to our next striker, I'm just going to do something different. I'll run through some West Ham news that's come up over the last couple of days. Antonio's going to get a new deal at the end of the season, according to the official website. So he's in for another pay rise and another extension, thanks to his good form at the start of the season. Martinez and Brown have both been nominated for the Under-23 Player of the Month for December. The two players obviously knocking on the door of the first team. And also Dimitri Payet was nominated for the Premier League Player of the Month in December. However, he's probably at the bottom of the 6 nominations because he's up against players like Adam Lallana and Dele Alli. According to The Sun, Dimitri Payet had to meet Super Slav because our manager is not happy with his lack of effort in training and games recently. However, the manager does think that everything's fine. Dimitri's happy. He's going to be fine. He's not concerned at all. Next week, West Ham United will be applying to take their capacity up to 60,000, an increase of 3,000 seats. So we should find out next week if we get that safety certificate. And of course, the Ghoulies red card got rescinded after that rubbish decision by Mike Dean against Manchester United, which means 4 of our last 5 red cards have been rescinded. Now, let's talk. Do you want to talk about Hogan or Dembele? Which one would you like to go to next?
Let's go with Dembele.
Take it away.
Well, I just think it shows huge ambition, and really, if I had to choose one of the 3, he would be the guy I'd go for. I did a video on Hogan last night, which I'll stick a link up somewhere, and I'm actually in the process of doing one on Dembele as well. And the more I see of him, and the more I find out when I do these videos, do a bit of research, look at their careers, put up as much footage as possible, and probably look a little bit closer than I would do normally if we were just linked with him and he was in the paper or something. This boy's really exciting, and you'll obviously tell us more in a minute because he's up there in battered pizza land, isn't he, with you fellas up there? So I'm very excited by him. He looked really, really good at Fulham, and Tottenham were rumoured to want him. I think they had a bid accepted, but for some reason it didn't happen. And he's gone to Celtic, and he's certainly proved himself up there. Can he make the transition down? Well, others have. Van Dijk was the most. Was it? I think he was the most recent sell on from Celtic, wasn't he? Would that be right, Van Dijk?
The most successful one, anyway.
Yeah, I mean he's done very, very well. He looks skillful. He's big, very right-footed from what I could see. Scores some goals in the air. And he has that. I think he has that X factor, if you like. He's got that bit of star quality. He is certainly going to go on and play for a top club at some point. And I think you may have mentioned it the first time we were linked to him. Actually, this is the time for West Ham to go in and get him. We don't get him in a year's time or 2 years. We don't, because he is at Chelsea at that point or someone like that. So I think it shows really good ambition. And if it is genuine and we could push the boat out, then I would certainly look to make that the prime target.
We've got, but I watched, like many people watching this, I watched Spurs v Chelsea last night, and there was two players on that pitch that made a difference. One of them was Wanyama, who came from Celtic, went to Southampton, is now at Spurs. What a game. He was incredible at Chelsea. It just proves that some players can make the step from the Scottish League in English. The Scottish League's rubbish. I'm no advocate of the Scottish League. Anyone that knows me and speaks to me, they'll know I tell you I hate the Scottish football. I don't like Scottish football. I'll watch it, but I don't think there's any quality of it. But this guy's, he's only 6 foot, but he's better than Enner Valencia in there, I'll tell you that. And the guy, Enner Valencia, is supposedly amazing in there. This guy's better than him. He's not tall, but he's strong. He's got some leap on him. He's fast. He's fast as, but he's not like you said about Defoe smacks in bangers and stuff. This guy, I've not really seen him do it. I've not really seen him hit them, but he's in the middle of the box and he takes one touch, bang, goal. He doesn't take 2 or 3 touches, which is what Zaza tries to do. This is what Carlton Cole used to do years ago. He'd get the ball into his feet and he would need that touch. Think about Lanzini against Crystal Palace. When he came in that box, opened his body up, one touch into the back of the net, and he went away celebrating all in one movement. That is exactly how this guy can finish. He takes, I think, his record for Fulham when he was in the Championship, I think he'd only had the amount of goals he scored, he only had the double amount of shots. So 50% of his shots were going in. So he doesn't take much, but he knows where to go. He knows how to finish as well. It's very rare you see a natural finisher that is like a Guerrero type. He just knows where the goal is. But like Baka, that's why we wanted Baka. He knows where the goal is. And this is what that guy's got. But you've got to speculate to accumulate. Some people say to me he's not worth 20 million. It's probably not. But you ain't buying him. You're buying the potential. You're buying what he could do. You're taking the gamble. And I've got a theory, and I'm going to come on to this. This actually leads into the Scott Hogan thing as well, that if he flops, you will still be able to sell him for 8 million or something. And the 20 million won't be up front from West Ham. The way we've offered 20 million, it will not be here's 20 million cash. It'll be here's 12 million. Oh, and if you play so much, we'll give you another million. Win the FA Cup, here's another million. And so if he's a flop, he won't cost that much, and we'll be able to sell him on. But if he is a success, then we just pay the extra money because we're reaping the rewards at the end of the day anyway. If he is banging the goal, I'll pay him another million. So be it. We're celebrating the goals he scored. And I just think this guy's got a massive future. But I do, like I said to you before, I do worry that there's whoever goes first is just going to start a domino effect of bids. And we've shown our hand. I think now there's going to be other Premier League clubs coming in going, I'll have a 20 million bid as well, please. I'll have that. Because everyone knows about him. He's not a secret. It's not like we've uncovered a rough diamond like Lanzini. He's not like someone everyone's going, who? Everyone knows who we're talking about.
Yeah, do you know what? The thing is, though, you were asking earlier on about what would I go up to for Defoe. Actually, I do think this guy is a future 50, 60 million pound player. I really do, from what I've seen. And I'd actually go for 25, 30 for the guy. We tried this stuff for Lacazette, as you say, for Batshuayi. It wasn't quite enough. I do wonder, Batshuayi, I do hope he is shaking his head, really, because he decided he didn't want to come to us, because I think we did actually have the bid accepted and he turned us down. And I hope he's happy on that bench at Chelsea, because even when Costa was out, he didn't even get a game. He came on for about 8 seconds, didn't he? There were some funny clips. But anyway, I do think this guy is worth pushing the boat out for, and that's why I said I thought the 20 million was probably lower than it needed to be. But again, why go in there with 30? Start at 20. It's Celtic. I don't know. I know there's not riches in Scottish football, but I know Celtic are a huge club, get lots of fans there, don't they? They've got the safe standing now, Celtic, so they probably squeeze a few more fans into their stadium as well, and they've had a little go in the Champions League this season, haven't they? So clearly they're not totally skint, but I would still imagine 20, 25 million is a tempting amount of cash for a club in the SPL.
I don't think it's just about the cash. I think they want to do right by the player. I do think they're, even Brendan Rodgers, I think their morals are in the right place. That if the player wants to leave and wants to go on to a bigger stage, they'll let him for the right price. They won't hold him back. They're not going to say, no, you've got a contract here, you must see that contract. I think when he joined, I think there was obviously some sort of gentleman's agreement that if a club comes in that I want to go to, you have to play ball and let me go kind of thing, providing a turn it on and up here. And he has done. And it's quite funny. Remember I said about sending Fletcher to Sunderland? You could almost send Fletcher to Celtic on loan in the other direction, because he will get game time at Celtic. He will score up here. And he could end up coming back a totally different player, or he could end up being that we decide that Fletcher won't make it for West Ham. They can have him for a cup, whatever. You never know. But I would like to see this kid here big time. I do think, he's good in the air already, but could you imagine him learning from Andy Carroll and just how to be even better in there? You've got the leap. Now we're going to show you how you boss defenders. That's the type of thing that West Ham could give him. And like you said, he does have a big future. And I do worry that when he comes here, he would see us as a stepping stone. But we have to accept that for a while, I think, until we are hitting the dizzy heights. We are going to have to accept that people like Fernandes, maybe even Payet, thought, I'll go there, I'll turn it on, and then in a couple of years, I'll get my move to a... but we do the same to footballers, don't we? Yeah, we'll take you, we'll play you for a couple of years, and at the same time, we're going to look for someone better than you and bring them in and bump you back out. Thank you for your 2 years, off you go, we'll get this guy. It's how football works. It's how the cogs of football move. But 20 million is my biting point. If it is cold hard cash, 20 million is my, purely because we're West Ham, we don't have a massive chest of money. If I seen us going for more than that, I would think, oh my goodness, is this the next 18 months transfer budget we're away to spend on this one guy? It would worry me, but I'd be bloody excited if we got this guy. I would be really excited. But before we speak about our last striker, let's talk about some of the other links that aren't so prominent. A link that came out is Phil Jagielka from Everton.
Why? No. We've got promising young centre backs at the club. Let's try and bring them through if need be. If we want experience, we've got experience there. Kiate can drop to the back, as we know. Ogbona's there, perhaps not in the best of form. Ogbonna. Reed, even though we've had some pretty crap results recently, Reed looks almost back to his best. Could even argue, I wouldn't want to see him play there, but I never thought Nordveit would be our first choice anything. I thought he was going to be a utility player, and maybe now he's starting to prove himself as a utility player, so he could possibly go back there. Reece Burke, Reece Oxford, and the name is it Dobson?
Yeah.
I think he's a centre-back as well, is that right? So I just don't see the need. Jagielka is as they say.
He's a complete note. When I seen that, I thought, you must be joking me. I don't see the benefit to it. I see literally no benefit or point to it at all. I only see what it is. It's almost like an English James Collins, error after error waiting to happen. No, thank you. But I think we've got another couple of centre backs. I think Dobson plays as a full back role. I think it's Rice is the centre back you're thinking about.
You might be right. Yeah.
But we've also got another stupid. Well, I think it's a stupid rumour. But to be fair, the people that have linked him can be reliable sometimes. That's Dembele. Bit of a strange one. What do you think about that?
No, not at all, actually. And at the time, I felt a bit sorry for Dembele because that year we went down under Avram Grant, he actually was scoring loads of goals. But again, I don't know why he managed to do it. Avram Grant decided he was going to play him on the left wing for loads. Clearly, the man was a striker, and he should have just played him as a striker all the time. He did. I remember going down there and just it was terrible. It was terrible. So, what worries me about the Dembele one is Bilic had him in Turkey as well. And I think that in itself should exempt Bilic from signing anyone. Basically, if Bilic spotted you in Turkey, or you're one of his favourites from Turkey, I think that's it. It's null and void, because it doesn't work. It's a Mickey Mouse league, as we know. I've said it before. Hugo Rodallega is topping the charts there. You talk about legs gone. Once Robin van Persie's legs went, he went over there. He was one of the top scorers. We keep getting linked with players. I think they had a midfielder called Hutchinson, who was, again, he wanted to sign him in his mid-30s, which whilst you might want to do that with a striker of proven pedigree like Jermaine Defoe, don't you buy box-to-box midfielders in their mid-30s, as we saw with Diarra, who we signed. So, no, I don't want to see Demba Ba come in, because it's just Bilic thinking he did a job for me at Besiktas. No, thank you, or whatever it was.
The stupid thing about this link is the geezer broke his leg in a million different places not long ago. I think he's not fit until March. I don't get this link at all. Apparently, the Chinese club were going to send him to us, pay all the money. It wasn't going to cost us anything. We just take the player and try and get back to fitness. I see no benefit to this at all. I don't think he can play until March. He's the wrong side of 30. I can't believe this deal at all. I'd be very surprised to see if this had any sort of substance to it.
It's also, I just don't think it's the direction we're going in. I know the Defoe thing might contradict that slightly, but I just don't think it's the direction generally that the club should be headed in. Old players who once played for West Ham many moons ago are now injured and once did a job for the old manager. No, it's just not the.
He can't. The thing is, though, he's not even fit. You know, he's like, his leg's broken. He's got a broken leg.
He's always had a broken leg, and I don't mean from birth. But when we went to sign him, Stoke just tried to sign him beforehand. I think Pulis was manager, and he failed much like Sacco did. He failed a medical at Stoke, and then I think we got him for next to nothing. But we got him next to nothing on the proviso that he would have possibly £6 million escape clause, which again, when we went down, possibly it was Newcastle that activated it, but. Yeah, he's always had that injury, so he's always likely to break down, and he consequently has broken down several times.
It's a different injury. This is a complete leg break. He failed his medical because of his knee. This is a broken leg. This is an impact challenge. Like, whack, his leg was in two pieces. I just don't get it. One that's come out today is to buy one of our players, Andre Ayew, for 20 million. I don't know how you pronounce his name, Al Ain or something, I don't know. But they're going to offer him 200 grand a week to try and get him over there.
Is this China?
UAE.
Oh, UAE. Are they going to pay us the 20 million?
Apparently, it's just a newspaper link. That's all. They were going to offer us 20 million, offer Andre Ayew 200 grand a week to shift over there.
Yeah, nice work if you can get it. I certainly wouldn't have any complaints. I don't think he was. I think he was just purchased. I don't think we really had any idea where he was going to play. I don't think the manager knows where to play him. So I think if we could get 20 million and that goes towards somebody else, I'd certainly take it. But why would he want to? He's still a good player, and he could probably play in a top
200 grand a week
in a top division. Right, fair enough. Yeah.
Tevez and Oscar and Witzel are all off to China. He's probably thinking 200 grand a week. I'm off as well. I'm off somewhere else. You know, if you can get it. Yeah, it might make sense. You know, there was something to this. It's only just come out tonight. It's just a paper story for now, but there was something to it. It might explain why we're bidding for so many strikers, and we are launching 20 million at Celtic and going, well, here, let's, you know, we can swap Ayew for Dembele. Happy days. But
in a heartbeat, yeah.
This one hasn't been linked with West Ham, but it came out today in the German press that Leverkusen would accept around £21 million or 25 million euros, whichever you want to chat. For Hernandez, the guy you were speaking about earlier, unbelievably. So would you take him back 21 million?
I think he's a really, really good striker. I rate him highly. He's another one. The delivery's got to be right. Like you said with Defoe earlier, you get Hernandez and you've got no excuse if that delivery is not right. See, Hernandez, it's funny, I didn't even know you were going to mention him. I mentioned him because he is a fox in the box. When you have that player, it's got to be really good. If you have someone like Defoe and your build-up play breaks down just short of the ball. With Defoe, your final ball doesn't always have to be perfect. Defoe can sort of drop his shoulder, change direction, create himself a yard and bang it in from 20 yards, 15 yards, as I say. With someone like Hernandez, I do think your final ball needs to be spot on every time. And if it's not, He's also very good, Hernandez, at creating space in the box for headers. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he scores headers and some from quite unnatural angles. I really, really like him at West Ham. I would love him at West Ham. I'm not sure he's the right player to play under Bilic.
No worries. I would take him 21 million. I mean, it's quite, considering you only went to Leverkusen for 8 million or something. It's one of those deals that you think, why didn't we just do it back then? Why didn't we just take it? But he's still doing it in Germany, though. I think he's got a hit of 1 and 2 over there or something. So he's still producing the goods. He's 28 years old. He's in his prime. 21 million is a fair price, you ask me. Now let's talk about the guy. Remember, anyone that joined us a couple of weeks ago know I said I would like Scott Hogan, and you went, who? Now you must know a little bit about the Hulk from the Championship.
I hope so. I spent 2 hours doing a video last night. Yeah, he looks really good. Looks really, really good. He has had a serious injury, as we know. He's come back from it, recovered really, really well. Doesn't seem to have lost any of his sharpness, any of his pace. Good finisher. Replacement for Andre Gray, who then went on to Burnley. So got a history of selling strikers for big money. Of Brentford, who had, funny enough, another guy that was in charge at Rangers at the moment, up your end, Warburton. He was at that club for a little while, and I think he helped set up a lot of the structure that is now bringing through these players. So they signed him from Rochdale, £750,000. Looks really, really good. Can score with his left foot, score with his right foot, score with his header, and well worth a punt if you are looking for someone from the lower leagues who might be able to step up. I think it's only, let me get this right, Dwight Gale at Newcastle. And Newcastle are doing very, very well in the Championship this season, creating lots of chances, who has scored more in the Championships, as well as Murray, who is at Brighton, and Brighton are also doing very, very well in that. So bearing in mind, the best of the rest, he would be the guy.
Yeah, well, the club today said we had an £8 million bid rejected, but sources elsewhere say we've actually had a £10 million bid gone in and get rebuffed. And apparently Brentford also want 15 million. Also, their manager did actually say that he's not going to stand in his way. If he wants to go to a Premier League club and a Premier League club comes up with the money, he can go. Which is quite a big statement to make, actually, saying that your club's for sale, but then everyone's got a price, I suppose. But you'd imagine a bit like Sunderland, you say, no, you ain't getting him. You're not come at me with whatever you want, you're not getting him. But he's not. He's opened the door and said, look, you want him, come get him, come down with the money. I think we're going to have competition for this guy, though. I think the likes of Watford, Aston Villa, I think they're all looking at him. Gested's a way to go to Middlesbrough from Villa. Yeah. That's going to give Villa a lot of cash to play with, and they're probably going to be looking at him, thinking about what he can do in Championship. Steve Bruce is doing something here. Let's go get him. But I wanted him a couple of weeks ago. I'm certainly not changed my stance in the space of a couple of weeks, but it's just you're trying to. The problem is you're weighing him up against Defoe, who's done it in the Premier League, and it's kind of like, which one would you want? And they're almost the same price. So you're either buying someone who might make it, but it'll give you a long time in the Premier League, or someone who will make it, but you've got a very short lifespan on the bloke, and it's a very hard thing to do. And I think it's splitting fans a little bit. Do you want instant success, or do you want to take a punt?
Well, I'll tell you what concerns me, and it's something that you mentioned earlier on. So you said earlier on that if we get Defoe, Bilic has no excuses. What Bilic can't do with Defoe is what he's done with Ayew. He can't think, I might play him a little bit in the middle, play him a little bit left, and that. If he gets Jermaine Defoe, and we've created a big stink to get him out of to get him out of Sunderland, then he has to start him in Premier League games as a striker. Whether he starts as a striker on his own or whether he starts with Andy Carroll next to him is a different matter, but he has to start him as a striker. There's no excuse. I think if we signed Scott Hogan, then I'm not necessarily sure that Bilic has to start him or even will start him in those games. I wouldn't be so. This is all guesswork. I'm just guessing here. But I remember when we brought Antonio in, I was very, very reluctant to play him at the start. And we actually had to suffer. I think he came on as a substitute against Man City. But in the main, he didn't play very much at all. We got injuries to Payet and Lanzini against Everton, as I remember. and then he started to bring Antonio in. But at the start, he didn't really want to play him, and I could just see a situation where we paid the money for this Hogan, and actually Andy Carroll still starts ahead of him all the time, and he's a guy off the bench and almost gets used perhaps a little bit more than Fletcher, but not as much as so. And bearing in mind that he can not play a guy that costs 20 million in IU. I think he can certainly not play a guy who costs 10, 11 million.
What I will say to that, play devil's advocate, is that when we signed Antonio, Bilic didn't know who he was. It was quite clear that it was a Tony Henry signing. Bilic knows who Scott Hogan is. Bilic has spoken about Scott Hogan. He said he's watched him a few times himself. I think there's a difference. Bilic knows what he's getting with the striker. He didn't know what he was getting with Antonio. Bilic probably seen him for the first time ever on a training pitch. I mean, who's this guy? He probably didn't know about his father, his career, etc. Why would he? You don't know everyone. Of course, he would have had the scout reports, etc. But with Scott Hogan, he's probably not only seen him on DVD or live. He's probably maybe even he's got to a match or somewhere, or he sent his trusted staff to a match and said, "Go watch this guy, and come back." And I think that's the difference. I think the level of intel, if you like, that Bilic has on Hogan will be different to what he had on Antonio. But Antonio is actually the reason for me why we should be going for Hogan. Yes, you might have to be patient, because we've got Andy Carroll, who's playing quite well at the minute, and he will have to wait his chance. But Antonio came from the Championship, is doing it. Creswell came from the Championship. Randolph came from the Championship. We signed Dean Ashton from the Championship. You look at Leicester, you look at Bournemouth. Bournemouth are one of the most impressive teams in the league this year. Half their team are the team that come up with Bournemouth. There's talent out there. There is heaps of talent in the Championship. And I think we got burnt by looking overseas in the summer. We've got to stick to these shores. And if the Premier League clubs ain't playing ball, why would they? It's a seller's market. Brentford manager's made it very clear that he will sell Scott Hogan. For me, you've got to go get him. You look at his record. What's he got? 14 this season. I keep saying it. I say it about Martinez. Is that a striker is all about confidence. If a striker is confident, he will score. It doesn't matter who he is or who he plays for. If a striker is scoring and he's confident, he will score. This guy's confident.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I agree. You're preaching to the converted. There are lots of good players covering the Championship. My argument isn't about that. My argument purely is if he comes in. If, say, he comes in the first two games, Hogan doesn't score, and he's played, I think Bilic, it's easier for Bilic just to say, actually, no, I'll take him out the firing line for a bit, I'll put someone else in. If Jermaine Defoe came in and for the first two games didn't score, he'll play the third game because Bilic's mentality will be, I'll play him in the third game. He'll score in a minute because that's what Jermaine Defoe does. That's the only thing. So I think if we are, as you say, one is for the future, one is for the now. But I would like to think even at 10, 12 million, they're not going to get there 15. I'd still like to think that a player can come in and do something. I don't want to spend that and just think, oh, okay, we'll see a striker in 2 years' time. I would want someone that can come in and do something. But I'm just not sure he would get the run of games needed. Obviously, if he came in, scored first game, everyone would be, the world would be a happy place. But, I mean, it's sort of good. One thing I would like to say on the strikers, though, is, I think the best striker at the club is Sacco. Sacco has been putting off this back injury, this back operation, for a long time now, and he's finally decided to have the back operation. If this fixes his problems and he gets fully fit and he's mentally there, we're going to have a really, really good striker around, and anyone would find it hard to shift him from the team, I think.
I'm sure we got told. I swear we got told he's had that back operation in the summer. I swear that we got told really? That's why there's been a delay. I'm confident that we got told he's been playing. I'm confident we got told he's had this injury all this career at West Ham, and that's why there was a long period of him coming back after pre-season because he had the injury, and then he's got it again. It's just, I'm actually fed up with Sacco. I'm done with Sacco. It's a shame. He's got talent. He works hard. If he plays, I'm going to support him. I hope he does well. But it's got to the point now that if he was fit, if he does come back in March, I'd rather have kept him for 2 months. Played him very, very very carefully and got rid of him in the summer, even if it was just for a few million, just get rid of him. I'm sorry, Sacco, mate, but I've given up on you. You played less games than Andy Carroll, and Andy Carroll gets called injury prone. Andy Carroll scored more goals than you, but yeah, Sacco's supposedly the better goal scorer.
Oh no! I don't think that's fair to suggest that Sacco doesn't get called injury prone. I think they both get called injury prone. So let's get that right.
There's not a bigger bandwagon for Sacco as there is for Carroll.
Oh mate, I say it all the time. You can look back on any of our videos.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the fan base overall.
He's very injury prone. Very injury
Carroll
prone.
Carroll could cough, and people will go, look at him, he's coughing, he's got the cold. 90 grand a week, get out my club.
That's the wages. Yeah, that's the difference between 90 grand a week and 25 grand a week.
Sacco could literally break his leg, and some people go, don't worry, because in 8 months' time he will be fantastic. Don't worry about it. When he comes back, he'll run the channels, blah, blah, blah. Yes, he might do, but for how long until he's injured and we all go back to square one? You know, fed up going back to square one. I would like to see this Hogan guy actually. Well, actually, who would you like? Out of all the strikers we spoke about, Hernandez isn't linked to us, so it's kind of cheating picking him. But you could if you want to. But Defoe, Dembele, Hogan, that's the 3 confirmed bids from West Ham United from the official site. Actually, before you answer, what do you think about the official site, the insider confirming these bids?
Well, we know who types those articles up, don't we? But you know, we know where the source comes from in there. That's a really good question. I didn't know you can ask that. I really like it, to be perfectly honest, and I quite like the honesty of them coming out with it. And you know, I think they know there's so many. Everyone's going to talk about it anyway.
You have to confirm it.
I've got to be honest. I'm sick of all this smoke and mirrors that there is around football generally. And I know sometimes the owners speak up a little bit much, and David Gold tweets a little bit too much, and you know, Sullivan says, we're going to buy this striker and we're going to do this, that, and the and puts his foot in it before we've actually gone out and bought them. But I couldn't tell you what the owner of any of the others wants to do. I don't hear anything from the Glazers. You don't. I know you might say, yeah, they're going to get their business done, or but we're not. Then we haven't got 80 million to buy Pogba. All these other clubs, you don't hear anything. And I just think for the club to turn around to us, who are, and bearing in mind this is what we do, Hammers Chat. We're reliant on news, and we're doing a video about all the stuff. And actually, we've got something chunky. So for us to chat tonight, we know we've got 3 stories that have pretty much been confirmed by the club. That means we can have a good chat about it. But not only that, it allows me to get excited about it, because I think actually we are bidding for these players, and I'm pleased to hear it. I don't mind. I'm going to do it because you know what? It's going to be on Claret and Hugh anyway. Ex-employer will be tweeting it out. We'll be talking about it. I don't blame them for doing
That's speculation. That's speculation. And even if the club hadn't done the article, we'd still be doing this video. We'd still be talking about Defoe, Dembele, and Hogan. The only difference is we've got confirmed to us. And you can now say, well, like if you go back to the start of the show, I was saying, we're insulting Sunderland with 5 million. We've just put out an article on the official site saying, we've just bid 6 for Defoe, but we're bidding 20 million for Dembele. Sunderland are thinking, 20 million, are you? Right, okay. When you come back with that 8 million bid, guess what I'm going to tell you to do? I'm going to tell you to piss off in one direction, because I know you've just bid 20 million for another striker. So you've got 20 million to play with. Up your bid, please, mate, because you ain't getting this guy cheap. You know, it's just... Sometimes I think you need to keep your cards a little bit closer to your chest. Whether it's speculation, you're right. The stories are out there. We all knew that we wanted Defoe, Dembele, Hogan, but you have to confirm it. Like, I think there's a line. I think sometimes that's a little bit. Everton today signed Lookman from Charlton, 11 million. Done, well done, fantastic signing, Everton. But the point is, I didn't see their chairman or whoever it is on their website going, we'll bid 11 million for a player from Charlton.
No, he didn't. But Koeman did admit that they were in for him last week. Koeman did admit that they were in for him. He knew it was, and so yeah. I mean, maybe not. No,
it's different. It's different. A manager. I mean, the manager gets asked about it. It's like when Bilic gets asked today about Defoe. He goes, "Yeah, he scores goals." But Hogan, Hogan. But you don't need the actual official site. Sometimes I do read it. I think, Jesus, you don't need to confirm all of it.
The thing is, so many people do read the official site, and so we'll do 2 3, 4, whatever thousand views on this video. If we're lucky, you know, video goes up on the official site, get 50, 60,000 views. And it's just a lot of people go, well, they've got 1 million people on their Twitter or whatever. That is a lot of people's contact with the club. The fact of the matter is, there's a lot of West Ham fans out there. And most of them don't
know.
come.
I mean, some of their videos only get 7,000 views
on their YouTube channel. You know, for a fact, we've done stuff with the club before. You know, the stuff that actually on the official site, the embedded videos, not the stuff on their YouTube channel, are getting 50, 60,000 views. It's the official site is by far the biggest. I think Facebook is 1 million and 1.9 million or something. There's a lot of people, okay? And my point is, most people's contact with the club is not through us. It's not through Claret and Hugh. It's not through Knees Up Mother Brown. Maybe Knees Up Mother Brown's a bit, it was obviously monstrous, isn't it? But it's through the club, and I don't really mind them doing that.
Maybe yours, but you can't speak for everyone. I can't tell you last time I visited the official site.
Well, today, didn't you? Because you know what, I wouldn't all the news from it.
No, I read a screenshot on Twitter.
Well, there you go. So Twitter is screenshotting what's on the official site. It sort of goes.
You said the official site. No, I don't.
All right. Well, you don't. It doesn't matter why. You know, the point of the matter is, most people's contact is going to be through the official site. The numbers, the analytics don't like. Go and have a look. Type it into the Alexa rating. See where, you know.
Yeah, but that can be fake. You know, like you said, they've got 1 million people on Twitter. Yeah, but you can check. You can see how much they've got fake. They've got heaps of fake accounts and stuff on there. It doesn't really matter. You know, we're getting into politics, but you don't know for sure. You said you know for a fact their videos get 50,000. No, don't. You don't know for a fact. They don't tell. There's no way of finding out. You don't know for a fact they get 50,000. But the thing is, what I was talking about is, should we be confirming the fact that we are putting in £20 million bids? I mean, in fact, there's even words as £20 million bid for someone in Scotland. There's only one person in Scotland worth 20 million quid.
Yeah, I honestly don't care. I'll be a complete hypocrite as somebody that loves West Ham. I mean, I spend so much of my time looking at West Ham stuff on the internet. That's why we do what we do. That's why this whole thing was started. You know, I love it. I can't get enough. West Ham till I die. Claret and Hugh, I mean, everything. The stories, official site. I absolutely love it. I mean, literally, the more the merrier for me. I don't care that they confirmed it.
Oh, I love it as well, but I just don't think it's the wisest thing to do in the middle of a transfer window. To be confirming your bids and how much money you've got to spend when you're trying to save a little bit of cash on another deal elsewhere. I think it's just a little bit naive. But we'll need to start wrapping this one up soon. But before we talk about the last position, make sure you subscribe. Probably here, there's a red button underneath. You're watching this on our channel, just click the YouTube button down here and pop up. The red button says subscribe. Hit subscribe. Be nice. Be kind to us, and pop back and watch our other videos as well. Come on to our forum at hammerchat.com. Give us your opinion on all the strikers, Defoe, Dembele, and Hogan. They're the main ones. Let us know what you think. But the other position which we were going for, Gonzo, which is it worrying you that we've not really had much news about a right back? There's not much rumours about a right back. There's nothing confirmed on whufc.com/insider article about a confirmed bid for a right back.
It's been worrying me for a long time. I don't get it. I don't get the lack of activity on the right back since it was identified.
Do you think maybe we've got budget? Striker takes part of that budget and whatever's left is for the right back?
Maybe, but I don't care. I mean, I don't want to know about that sort of stuff. I've got to say, I just want players to be signed. I don't care if that's the case, but we need a right back. What I worry about with the right back is Nordvigt's come in and done okay the last couple of games, and they might be thinking, hold on, you know, we can save a bit of money here.
And Sam Byram's coming back from injury.
Yeah, and I'm not. I mean, I'll say it now. I'm not convinced. I mean, as I say, I think Nordvight will be a good utility player. He's not good enough going forwards, and I mean running forward. I know he looks like he might have a bit of a long-range pass on him, but now looks a little bit better. But actually running forward, overlapping the winger and whipping in cross, he's not that player. And I think
he's Tompkins' II.
Yeah, good fair shout.
Solid enough, but I mean, you've seen him against Man U. Rashford just nutted him, just past him, and the poor geezer was chasing a shadow. You know, you couldn't keep up with him, but it's just his lack of natural right back position awareness.
He's not the answer. He's not the answer, and I'm unconvinced by Byram. I think a lot of people really like him. I've not seen enough of him, and bearing in mind I've seen every minute that he's played at West Ham. I don't think he's done enough to prove himself, and I mean, he scared me when I went and watched him. I think it was possibly against Chelsea at the start of the season, and he scared me. I thought, oh my goodness, this is just not this is not it's not working out here. I think possibly he might have come on for Antonio or something.
Wait. He played really well that game.
No,
Antonio was having a nightmare and gave away a pen, and then
Antonio
did very well.
Yeah, and Antonio trudged off with his head bowed and all the rest of it. Yeah, but it doesn't convince me. I'd be very surprised. I mean, if you think so, then fair enough. I'll be very surprised if Byram is our right back for years to come.
I don't think he's the answer. I don't think he's ready yet. I think he's got potential, but I don't think he's the answer. I don't.
So yeah, and answer your question, I do worry that we haven't identified that, because I don't think Byram and Nordveit are the ones for that position. I'd just like us to see a right back, but I mean, damned if we do, damned if we don't. If we don't announce that we're after a right back, then we think we're not after a right back. If we do announce it, then then
it's not about that. So. It's not about that. It's about the reliable sources, which you've already named a few of them anyway. But it's about them not saying anything other than Glenn Johnson. He's the only one on people, but he's now playing for Stoke. He's now their right back. He's now back in the team. He's playing well, and I know he's out of contract in the summer, but. People are saying, £1 million, but what's £1 million to a Premier League football club this day? They might think, well, it's going to cost us more than £1 million to replace him for the next 5 months, so we'll just ditch that £1 million. We'll just have him there for the rest of the season. It's a strange merry-go-round that we could find ourselves in, and it does worry me, the lack of, like every transfer, like every club. You hear in the press who you want first. I mean, very rarely do they come out of the blue. Fernandes was probably the biggest out of the blue we've had for a long time. We heard about it, and then the very next day he was holding up a shirt. We're like, oh, hang on a minute, this is...
I think our club, and this is why I would arguing with you before, I think our club is better than any other for that. And there's a lot of people that don't like it, so you shouldn't release this news, you shouldn't release that news. I think in terms of actual fan contact to the club and actually knowing what's going on, they argue amongst themselves. There was one going on Twitter the other day, I'm not even going to mention the names, but there was but actually they normally all get it right, or normally each transfer window they all get a couple right, and I don't see that too much for other clubs. I think with other clubs, and I think even with West Ham up until about 3 or 4 years ago, I remember clicking through teletext and CFAX and trying to find out any snippet. West Ham would have the breakdown of the newspapers. I think a lot of other clubs, they do wait for the newspapers to find out. I think we're quite, you can call it unlucky or lucky, whatever you want. I think we find out a lot earlier because we do have a lot of in the knows, actually, people that have got a lot of contacts at the club at every level.
But do you try and read on Everton in the know, for example? Do you know where to look?
No.
Well, it could happen in other clubs, so I don't know.
I think, to be fair, and I want to speak about this specifically now because we're on the subject. I think you've got a very, very special set of circumstances at West Ham. I think if Ken Wright was still in full charge at Everton, you might say, perhaps there's some scouser somewhere who knows that. But I think the fact you have so many foreign investors now, it's almost impossible to have this in the know scenario going on. We've spoken about Man City. Their guys are not even in the country most of the time. The Glazers are in America. You've got a situation over here where I'm going to stop beating around the bush. I'm just going to say the names now. Whereas that Hugh and Sean have got direct contact with the top guys at the club there. You've got ex-employee who has got contact with the scouting network there, and Jack and David, and everyone can deny it as much as they want to help. But I think there's a level of access to the club now that as fans you just find out what's happening, and I'm not sure that does happen at other clubs, to be fair. I really don't. I'm not certain, but I tell you what, I'll wager it doesn't. Not at that level, not at boardroom level, and scouting people finding out that much stuff with that much regularity. And I'll tell you what, I bet it gets shut down very quickly the moment it does happen. At West Ham, this stuff's not shut down. Okay, sometimes it's you said about the right back, it's quite, it's a shame we haven't actually heard it from any of the normal sources. Well, actually, you were right to say that as well, because the club I do let it be known through their other channels as well, and I like it. As someone that quite likes transfer speculation, as we look to transfer show, it'd be silly to pretend we don't. I like it. I like it when this stuff comes out, to be honest with you.
I love it as well. Like I said when we did it 2 weeks ago, transfer window to me is Christmas time. Christmas Day ain't Christmas time to me. Transfer window is my Christmas time. I think, come on then. What am I getting? What's under my tree for me? What transfer? I'd hate to be an Arsenal fan in transfer window. Christ almighty, it'd be like thumping my head off a wall.
How would you know? Crikey, they are fucking there. Have you seen their videos? Blimey, right? I mean, look at them. They've got, because I think there's the Gazidis is their chief exec. Then they got Kroenke. So I think Gazidis admits that they got 100 million in the bank. Then you've got that Stan Kroenke. He's over in America, doesn't say anything. And you've got a major shareholder, Usmanov, who owns 39% of the shares. Someone I'm sure will smart ass will correct me in the comments underneath. Some Arsenal fan will come and gobbing off. But how are they meant to get any information? For their fans, meant to get any information about their club? They're so detached from the fan. I wouldn't change. Crikey, yeah, they're in trouble anyway, aren't they? But anyway, that's another thing.
Anything else you want to add?
Just about the strikers, really. Normally, we would be linked with players, and I think no, don't fancy him. Remember at the start of the season, I really did not want Sar. But these three excite me, and you were before we got sidetracked. You were in the process of asking me for which one. I think you were about to ask me which one. I would
1, 2, 3. Do them in order if you want.
2, 3. And do you know what? I think I will do 1, 2, 3. But actually, I'd be really happy with any of these. And it's very rarely that I would hear. I'm quite excited today, and that's why I was excited. The club sort of announced it. I'm quite excited that any three of these strikers, I'd be really happy, and I'd sort of welcome into the club. So I will go number 1, Dembele, number 2, Defoe, and number 3, Hogan. But that is no start against Hogan. If we end up with Hogan, I'll be very, very pleased. What about yourself?
Dembele 1, Hogan 2, Defoe 3. And it's purely about Defoe's price tag. If Defoe was 5 million, he'd probably be number 1. But because he's now 10 million upwards, I've gone off it. A lot of people are coming round to Defoe. I'm going the opposite direction. I think I'm one of the few that's actually thinking, I really wanted him. Now, the higher the price gets, the more the further I edge away, and I think, yeah, okay. This season for me, the season's almost done. I don't think we're going to get relegated, and we ain't going to qualify for Europe, so we're going to be in that middle somewhere. And apart from pound note for your prize money, there's no real difference from finishing 15th and 10th. I'm not going to start running around the streets celebrating finishing 10th in the league. So I just think, well, maybe it would be better to get Hogan in and just have zero pressure on him for the rest of the season. That yes, I do think this season can be a successful one for other reasons than league position. Last season was successful because we finished 7th. We've still got the FA Cup, but I think if we were to build for next season, play a couple of the youngsters, Oxford or Brown, whoever, we were to see them a bit more between now and the end of the season. Maybe bring in a couple of young players. I don't think we will, but a couple of young players in the window that maybe aren't ready for the Premier League yet, but if you give them game time, like Bayern, I suppose, you give them game time, then we will find out if they're Premier League ready for next year. I think that would make this season a successful one. Because if you remember at the start of the season, we did our prediction, and you said, where do you think we'll finish? I said 9th. And I wasn't trying to be negative, I was just trying to be realistic. That I did think that we're not ready.
I think I might have picked lower, to be perfectly honest with you, but it's...
Don't worry, Anthony picked top 4. He had a reality check. He had a reality check.
And I'm sure he's delighted that you've reminded him as well. And I'll certainly
earlier. We were having an argument about Dembele, actually. He was saying Dembele's crap because he plays in Scotland. I was trying to argue that you thought we'd finish top 4. Your opinion is denied.
Probably worth pointing out to anyone who's watching, Anthony is Scottish as well. So there was it would have been.
But he supports England, so he really does not matter.
Well, he does. To be fair to him, his dad is English, and his dad is as Cockney as they come. So But anyway, we digress. Just quickly tomorrow, because I wasn't on the preview. Tomorrow's gonna be bitterly cold if you're going. So I'm taking my daughter for the cup game against City. So wrap up warm. It's gonna be really, really cold tomorrow. Not to you. It's probably tropical to you. You'd probably be in shorts if you were going with your hardened Scottish weather up there. But yeah, it's gonna be very cold tomorrow.
One last plug. I've done an article for Brace the Hammer on the transfer window. I've done my little opinion piece. It's called Kids Not Quids, because I don't want to see loan deals. I do not want to see us spending $8.5 million on loan deals anymore. I'd rather see us play the kids. So for that reason, I've called my article Kids instead of Quids, where I would like, read it. I'm not going to tell you what it's about. You can kind of guess, but read it. I'll put the link below. Have a read. Gonzo's putting his link below to his Scott Hogan video, in case you're thinking, who is Scott Hogan? Is he a wrestler? No, he's not the wrestler. The link is below. Make sure you subscribe. Also on the forum, hammerschat.com. Want to know your opinions on all the strikers we spoke about. What is your order? 1, 2, 3. Defoe, Hogan, and Dembele. Gonzo, say good night.
Good night.
And it's good night for me. Thank you for joining us.